On the 4th of July 2026, 18-year-old Nolan Xavier Wells left home after cooking salmon for his family. He hugged his mother, kissed her, said, "I love you," and headed out with friends for a holiday boat trip to Horn Island, a remote, undeveloped barrier island about 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. By Monday morning, his body was floating face down in the water near the island's northwestern tip. Authorities initially said there were no signs of foul play. Friends claimed he chose to stay behind. An independent autopsy later ruled the cause and manner of death undetermined. And now the case is drawing national attention, high-profile attorneys, and more questions than answers. This is the full breakdown of the Nolan Wells case. The timeline, the evidence, the contradictions, and what investigators still don't know. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old, a recent graduate of Ocean Springs High School, and a wide receiver for Southwest Mississippi Community College. Friends and coaches described him as a quiet leader with an infectious smile, disciplined, kind, and someone who made everyone around him feel comfortable. He was 6 feet 1 inch, about 180 pounds, black, and by all accounts a strong swimmer and athlete who was about to start training camp. His parents, Christine Wansley and Elmore Wansley, have repeatedly said he always stayed in contact, texting, posting on social media, checking in. That habit stopped on July 4th. July 3rd evening, Nolan cooks dinner for his family, says goodbye, and spends a night with friends. July 4th, 9:56 a.m. The boat leaves a private dock in the Ocean Springs area. GPS data later shows it arrives at Horn Island around 11:14 a.m. A large holiday crowd is already there, multiple boats, parties, people swimming and socializing. 3:00 p.m. Nolan is last officially seen on the northwestern tip of the island, talking to a young woman. He is wearing blue swim trunks, no shirt, and sunglasses. 4:31 p.m. The boat Nolan arrived on experiences bilge pump failure and begins taking on water. A distress call is made. "Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're going. We're sinking. Can you all please come?" According to Ashley Cole, a Jackson County judge and mother of one of the friends on the boat, her son last saw Nolan around 3 p.m. The group left around 4:30 p.m. because of the mechanical issue. She stated that Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. The boat's GPS confirms departure from the island at 4:31 p.m. It returns to the original dock around 5:44 to 6:06 p.m., makes additional short trips, and is later trailered to the owner's home in Biloxi. Nolan's phone and keys are left on the boat. 11:00 p.m. One of the friends finally contacts Nolan's mother to say he did not return. Christine Wansley reports him missing. A multi-agency search begins involving the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, Coast Guard, Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, National Park Service, and volunteers. July 5th. Intensive air, land, and water search continues. Family members, including Nolan's father and football coach, join the effort. July 6th, 8:45 a.m. A Gulf Islands National Seashore Ranger discovers a body in the water on the north shore near the western tip of Horn Island. July 7th. The body is positively identified as Nolan Wells through dental records. An official autopsy is performed by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office. Toxicology results are pending. Sheriff John Ledbetter states there are no immediate signs of foul play, but the investigation remains open. Several points have fueled public scrutiny. Friends say Nolan voluntarily stayed behind to talk to a girl and planned to catch another ride. Some reports and family statements claim a young woman on the island said Nolan got on a boat with the group. Why was Nolan's phone left on the boat? And why were there alleged deleted messages? Why did nearly 6 to 7 hours pass before the family was notified he was missing? Nolan was a strong swimmer, an athlete familiar with the area. How did he end up in the water? And was he conscious when he entered it? Photos of Nolan with his white friends circulated widely, sparking online speculation. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump was retained by the family. Reverend Al Sharpton spoke at the funeral. High-profile support came from figures including Tyler Perry, funeral costs, Colin Kaepernick, independent autopsy funding, and others offering rewards that reached six figures for information leading to an arrest and conviction. The Jackson County District Attorney has indicated that once the investigation is complete, findings will go to a grand jury. Officials have limited public comments to protect the integrity of the probe. On July 10th, forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell, former D.C. Chief Medical Examiner, performed a second autopsy paid for by Colin Kaepernick. Preliminary findings released July 22nd by Ben Crump. Cause of death, undetermined, pending further investigation. Manner of death, undetermined, pending further investigation. Significant finding, a 12 by 8-inch area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissue on the back of the head overlying the occipital bone. No overlying skin lacerations and no skull fractures. The etiology is unclear. Limitations. The body had already undergone the first autopsy, organs removed and dissected as standard. Mitchell did not receive the anterior internal neck structures, trachea, laryngeal cartilage, hyoid bone, etc. He could not directly examine the airway/lungs for water or the stomach for contents. Decomposition further limited observations of possible bruising. Conclusion language. The pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death, and cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. Mitchell listed outstanding questions that still need answers, including, why did Nolan enter the water? What was his body position when found? Was there water in the airway? Is there evidence of injuries to the front of the neck? Toxicology results and full records from the first autopsy remain critical. Local officials maintain the investigation is ongoing and that evidence will not be publicly detailed until presented to a grand jury. As of late July 2026, no criminal charges have been filed. The official autopsy and toxicology results have not been publicly released. The independent autopsy raised more questions than it answered. The family continues to seek transparency, and a reward fund remains active for credible information. Nolan Wells was a young man with a future, a football player, a son, a quiet presence who made people feel seen. Whatever happened in those critical hours on Horn Island between roughly 3 p.m. and the time his body was recovered deserves clear, evidence-based answers. If you were on Horn Island on July 4th, 2026, or have any photos, videos, or information, contact the Jackson County Sheriff's Office or the tip line associated with the family's legal team. This case is still developing. I'll update as new official information is released. Thank you for watching. If this breakdown helped clarify the facts, please like, subscribe,